Hey everyone, Doc Allie here, and today we're going to be discussing a very important topic, how to conquer burnout. Everyone knows that burnout happens. There's a lot of discussion that burnout happens, especially in medical school students, but there's not enough discussion about how to overcome it. So today I'm going to be sharing with you tips on how I overcame my burnout episodes in basic sciences. So yes, I actually did have two very strong episodes of burnout, and both of them happened near the end of basic sciences, so my 4th and 5th semester. I noticed that I was burning out I would have a lot of crying bouts where I would just cry. I didn't know why I was sad, why I was feeling what I was feeling. I just knew that I was exhausted. Truth be told, I was mentally and emotionally exhausted, but I didn't know that at that time. I just knew I was very tired. I knew I was very sad, and the hard part was not knowing why. So now that I'm older and wiser, I'm going to acknowledge the mistakes I made that led to this burnout. That way you guys can recognize if you're doing these same things, and then we'll discuss ways that I helped myself overcome these feelings. Mistake number 1 was that I neglected self-care. And I'm talking about the basics of life. I started to neglect it because I was so focused on chasing an A that I kind of forgot about how I have to take care of myself. So simple things like once a week I used to make sure that I would clean my room, and that would help me to calm down and feel better because my room was clean, my mind was clear. I used to study in my room. That was also a major thing. So being in my room a lot, I needed it to be organized and clean. And at one point I actually stopped doing that. I stopped cleaning once a week. So clutter started to form. I started losing time on how to get my laundry done, but also not lose time studying because our laundry mat was outdoors. You'd have to fight for it because there are only so many machines. And then also I didn't have a car, so I always had to try to coordinate with friends, to go get groceries. And of course they always offered, but I always felt like it was at inopportune times. So I would just be like, it's okay, I don't need groceries. I'll just study, I'll buy fast food, I'll do whatever. I just can't waste this time. And that was a constant thing with me, was that I felt like if I was not studying, if I was not doing questions, if I was not being productive, I was wasting time, and it would catch up to me and it would bite me in the butt. Another thing I can notice now that I didn't understand back then was the reason I would get so upset and so worried and so anxious when it came time for studying, exams, was that I attached my worth to my scores and my grades. So I felt I needed an A, I would do anything to get an A, and if I didn't get an A, I was inadequate, something was wrong, I wasn't doing something right. I didn't ever acknowledge that sometimes you can't just always get an A. And the worst part during this time of burnout, during these crying bouts, was I kind of felt all alone. I knew I was in med school with hundreds of students. I knew people back in the US that were in med school. I knew my family, I knew my friends. I just felt like I was alone, and I didn't feel as if anyone would understand what I was going through, how I was feeling, or I just did not feel comfortable enough to speak about it with them. So I suffered in silence. So now that we've had that nice little moment of self-reflection, and I hope if you are noticing you're making these mind patterns yourself, that you can stop yourself in your tracks and get back, back to a healthy mindset, back to healthy thoughts. And if you've already gone down this road, you've made my mistakes, you've had my thought patterns, we're gonna now discuss how I overcame these. So this is completely contrary to anything anyone will ever tell you. But I did have a study skills professor in undergrad, and I carry a lot of the stuff that she taught me to today. She's always a phone call away, and I love that about her. But she taught us that when your brain says, nope, can't do it, nope, not today, not anymore, I'm done, then you actually have to listen. It's worse for you to be up at 11 o'clock at night, way past your bedtime. My bedtime was 10 o'clock. and trying to force yourself to learn this information, go through this lecture, whatever it is that you're trying to do, and your brain says, I'm good, I don't want to do anything else, after a certain point, your brain's just not even going to care anymore. It's just going to tune out, it's going to neglect what you're learning, so you're technically wasting your time. So when your brain says, I want the rest of this evening off, I want to take tomorrow off, you sometimes have to actually do that. And I know it's scary because, like I said, I dealt with that guilt of, if I'm not using every minute productively, it's going to cost me, I'm going to fail. You have to kind of just take a deep breath, take a step back and say, okay, I'm going to put the books away. I'm going to just go relax. I'm going to go get my mind together, come back again and try another day. Another thing, and I saw classmates and schoolmates doing this, and I would have to talk to them about it repeatedly, is you can't just sit there for 12 hours on end staring at your computer. Even if you're saying I'm taking a break and you're watching a video on your computer, your brain's not always going to equate that it's taking a break. So what my study skills professor taught me was, if you're taking a break, let's say, okay, I'm studying in my room. If I'm taking a break, I need to not be at the same place where I was studying. So if I was at the desk, I need to get up from the desk, I need to move. And then I'll spend my 10 minutes doing something else somewhere else. So I would sometimes go get on my bed, relax on the bed, watch a video or whatever, and then come back when it was time to the desk. Sometimes I would go for walks, exercise, that was great. You have to let your brain really know that we are taking a break, and do not think that you can power your way through countless hours of studying. Your brain literally can only pay attention for so long. Even if you feel like you have the best attention span, your brain can only do so much for so long. So you have to regularly incorporate breaks into your study schedule. Don't stop doing things that you enjoy. I know people say that in med school you have to sacrifice, and this is very true. You do have to sacrifice, but you also have to find that work/school life balance. So you have to say, okay, I'm gonna study real hard, and then after exams, I'm gonna take the day off from studying, and on the weekend, I'm gonna do something fun with friends. You have to find a way to balance studying a lot, because you do have to study a lot, but you have to also find a way to enjoy life, live like a normal human being. So with me, I actually started liking to paint. So I would make sure that if I had time, I would do paintings. I exercised regularly until I started to neglect myself. Exercising is beneficial for more than just the physical aspect. Your physical health is always also important, but it also helps release those endorphins so that your brain is better for school. So we talked about how exercise is important for your mental health. Don't neglect the fact that your diet has a huge impact on your mental health as well. And this was something my friend really had to point out to me, because I used to love to drink juice. Canned apple was my thing, and he had to tell me, he was like, this much sugar is not good for you to be consuming regularly. You have to cut this out, because he would notice when my moods were low, and then he would look in my fridge and see my canned apple juice container is almost empty. So you have to make sure that you're regulating what's going into your body. Your body is like a tank, as people always tell you. What you put in your car's gas tank is how your car is gonna perform, right? So if you're putting in junk food that has a whole bunch of sugar, fat, salt, stuff that's not actually gonna sustain or help your brain, then you're going to feel that. You're gonna have low energy. You're not gonna wanna study. So you have to, even though it's hard, trust me, I know it's hard to cook. I know it's hard to make sure you regularly have groceries, but you have to make sure that you're doing these things, because what you put in your body does matter. Outdoor time. So living on Cayman, this was the best thing for me, because if I was just I'm done studying for today, I'm gonna go outside, I'm gonna go take a walk. I could literally walk from the dorms all the way down to the school. I think it was a 2-mile walk. I would catch the sun, I would catch the fresh air, and then sometimes I would catch the sunsets on the beach. It was great to have that. I know not everyone will have that, but if you can step outside, let your skin feel some sun, get that fresh air into your lungs, that does have a good effect on your mental health as well. This one right here, it was so huge for me because my parents always used to tell me, like, don't just sit in your room by yourself and study. Like, what are you doing? Go study with your friends at school in the library. And I'm like, no, I don't want to go to the library. It will be a cold day before I go in the library. And at one point, I literally called my friends before they left for school on the weekend, and I was like, do you guys think I can come with you? And it helps a lot to sit in a room with people who are also trying to study. It helps to give you that accountability. It helps you to feel like you're not all alone in doing this. During breaks, we would do stuff together. It just kind of helps to keep your spirit uplifted. And the main hesitance I had was that I talk out loud when I study. Like, I don't know why, but that's just who I am. I have to say things so that my brain connects it to what it's reading and all this other stuff. But I was able to overcome that, like save the stuff that I needed to talk out loud for at home. But when it came time to studying with friends, that helps a lot. And sometimes you're not going to be able to, like on Zoom, when we were on Zoom in the COVID year, we would literally just do Zoom conference calls and we would study that way. Having study dates also, that's always helpful. And this kind of ties in with changing your environment. So I always wanted to study at home alone in my room. I eventually had to change it up and go to school. Sometimes I would love this. This was actually suggested by a teacher, is before exams, if you could go and see something beautiful, like go to the beach and look out at the sun, that helps your mental health a lot. And so I would kind of be like, okay, I'm gonna go enjoy the beach, but I'm gonna take my books with me so that way I could study and get some great sun and see something beautiful all at the same time. But it doesn't have to be the beach. It could be coffee shops. It could be a park, you know, whatever. You just have to sometimes switch up your environment so your brain doesn't get tired of the redundancy. And lastly, my last tip to you guys is no matter how alone you feel, don't ever isolate yourself. So if you have friends, if you have classmates that you trust, family, talk to them, tell them how you're feeling. You don't have to suffer alone. You don't have to feel alone. It was actually mind-blowing when a classmate was venting to me about what she was going through, because I was like, you cried yesterday? I just cried yesterday. And you know, we could have cried together. We didn't have to feel so alone if we had just, you know, talked to each other. It wasn't like we were strangers. We were friends. We knew each other. We had each other's phone numbers. But I know it's sometimes scary to have those deep conversations and be that vulnerable with people, but sometimes it's so necessary. And if, for instance, you don't want to talk to a classmate, friend, family member, there's always mental health services that you should utilize. So if you want to start therapy, if you want to use your school's mental health counseling services, you should do this, because what really matters is you and taking care of yourself. You only have this one body, this one mind. You need to take care of them. I just really hope this was helpful, and if it was, please leave a comment. Let me know what you guys do to help overcome your burnout. Looking forward to hearing from you guys. Until next time.